A trip to the East End is almost like visiting a different island. It is quiet out here. And it is remote. The East End is as far away from Cruz Bay as you can get. And if you find yourself out here, look for the signs that point to Sloop Jones. A trip to Sloop Jones' studio is worth the drive all by itself. Here you'll find all kinds of hand-painted clothing, from t-shirts to jackets, as well as pillows, rugs, scarves, ties, hats, even signs. All wearable art, as Sloop Jones says. And if you're lucky, you may run into the artist behind all this colorful art, Terry McKoy, who has sold more than 100,000 pieces of painted clothing since starting Sloop Jones 20 years ago.
And then here's a Sloop Jones donkey right here.
Terry got to St. John in 1989 by way of Boston, El Salvador, and Tortola. And he says it was finances, or lack of them, that led he and his partner Barbara to St. John's sleepy East End.
The reason we got to the East End is because nobody wanted to live out here. At that point in time, it took 45 minutes to get from Cruz Bay to the East End. There was nothing in Coral Bay. A six-pack of Heineken in Coral Bay was $12 then, in 1989, just to give you an idea of, and if that was, if it was warm, if it was iced, it was more. It was pretty primitive.
But the quiet setting turned out to be the perfect place for Terry to concentrate on his work. The art of hand-painted clothing that he says he got into by accident while working in the clothing manufacturing business in El Salvador.
I had a bad shipment of t-shirts come through, and that's how I got started painting. The t-shirts came through and they weren't made right for the manufacturers, so I had 300 shirts sitting there and didn't know what to do with them. And I walked past the store, saw some tie-dyed shirts, saw some hand-painted shirts, and said, wow, that looks like the watercolors I've been doing since 1972. So I started painting shirts, and I painted 12 with 10 ounces of paint, and they all sold immediately. So I took the money and went out and bought 32-ounce things of paint. And then I started buying gallons of paint, and pretty soon I was out of El Salvador and I was painting shirts.
They moved to their current location in 1997, an artist's compound surrounded by gardens that they love tending to just as much as the business.
Smells like women's perfume.
Chanel No. 5.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of the essences in Chanel No. 5.
What's it called?
But it is paint and canvas and works in progress that are the heart and soul of this studio.
Yeah, this is where I stencil, so...
And several cluttered work areas that are spread throughout 2 levels.
We'll do a hand version of that flag. Big star. Fill the blue in. But when I do my designs, I actually just come down here, and I don't like it when anybody else to come down when I'm actually designing a piece, because I just do it all very free form. I just will stand here and paint for 2 or 3 hours, and then hang everything up that I did and look at it and look for something that I like in what I painted, and then I'll go back and take that something that I like and try to refine it into a production piece. The ingredient that controls the viscosity of the paint is ammonia. It thickens up the paint.
Hey, very nice.
Okay, and here's the front side.
Terry does do a lot of commissioned work, but the studio sees anywhere from a handful to dozens of visitors a day who buy everything from inexpensive t-shirts to large paintings. All of it comes with a great story as well.
This is a silk tie. It's painted with 151 rum, Crucian rum.
What do you mean it's painted with rum?
What I've done is I've substituted in my formula the water. I've substituted 151 rum for it.
Why?
And,
Why waste good rum?
Yeah, well, you know, it makes nice colors. It's chemically, I'm not sure what the correct term is, but I call it, the alcohol is more slippery than water.
And while Terry stresses quality in the clothing that serves as his canvas, he does admit sometimes you can make shirts a little too well.
When I set out to make shirts, I set out to make a shirt that would last, which I thought was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it is for the customer, but for me it's not so good, because sometimes people come back and they say, I bought this shirt from you 15 years ago. And I look at them and I think, I should have sold you a license that you had to renew every 5 years. General Motors cars last for 5 years. I'm building a shirt that lasts 15. No wonder I can't pay my mortgage.
We get emails all the time. People are sick, they don't feel good, they put their Sloop on, they're still sick, but they're happier.
That's good.
You know, so that makes us feel nice.
So how would Terry describe his own style?
When I think about my style, and when I think about how to categorize myself as an artist, I categorize myself as a colorist. I have a gift for color. You know, before I ever understood color theory, I had this thing in my stomach, and if it made me sick physically, they were bad colors. You know, and so I just have a real intuitive sense of color, so I call myself a colorist. I'm working on a prototype t-shirt that I can use in a workshop to teach people about color. I have a lot of people that come to me that are not confident in making color decisions, and they build a house here and they want it to look right. And what I'm doing is evolving a workshop where I can teach people the basics of color in a couple hours, so that they could go to their home and they could walk outside and they could pick a few elements from the outside and go to a paint store and be confident about making a good decision. I'd say my favorite color has always been the aqua blue of the sea, you know, the Caribbean blue that everybody comes down here and wants. Yeah, that's always been my favorite.
And the island and the water, I'm guessing, are a big part of the inspiration.
They're a big part of the inspiration. They feed my eyes every day. They feed my energy, you know, I never get tired of the drive into Cruz Bay, even though it's a long drive. I never get tired of it, just because of all the vistas and looking down on the bays, looking off the Yost, looking out to St. Croix, looking at the sunset. It really feeds me, yeah.